The AP Top 25 is here. Let's clap it up. Clap it up for the AP Top 25. The AP is my favorite ranking of college football. There's also the coaches poll. The coaches poll just came out like a couple weeks before the AP poll. And of course, we know there's the CFP committee. So the AP poll, why is it my favorite? It's my favorite because it's always the most accurate. Like, it's always the closest to how I would rank the team. So it's a little bit of bias there. The coaches poll is obviously very reliable because those are the coaches of the teams. But at the same time, coaches have bias too. Now the CFP committee, that ranking doesn't come out till later in the year, like almost pretty much at the end of the year as we get ready for the playoffs. That committee is made up of athletic directors. A lot of people, I mean, I think they're pretty much a respected committee now, but previously I know a lot of people are like, you know, what do these people know about football? But they're athletic directors, so they know a lot about football. And athletic directors of these universities, you know, a lot of Big Four, Big Five, Power Four, Power Five schools. And then we also got the Associated Press. You know, I thought it's interesting. The Associated Press is the top 25 voters are over 60 journalists covering college football. So theoretically, there is no bias in journalism. So, you know, this is very much a credible list. Like I mentioned, the coaches poll, you can see how there may or may not be bias there. But I definitely really like the AP poll. And it's here, so let's get into it. All right, so before I get into the list, actually, I'm just going to disclose. So a couple months ago, you know, after the season is wrapping up, I'm already thinking of the 2025 season. And I don't think Ohio State is going to repeat. That would be, like, you know, just nice to see because I like the Buckeyes. But I don't think they're going to repeat again. So I'm thinking, like, first of all, Penn State should have been in that championship game, if we're being honest. Penn State, you had a chance to meet the Buckeyes there, and you blew it. Drew Aller, that one's on you. Now, with that being said, you guys are returning a lot of starters. Drew Aller, you are coming back. Ohio State sent about 13 players to the NFL, so it's really just a different game for them. But for Penn State, you know, you got your quarterback coming back. You got some skilled players. You got some transfer wide receivers. You got another dog on defense. It's like they're just breeding out these Micah Parsons type of players. So it's really cool to see what Penn State does. I said all that to say that my prediction to win the championship this year is Penn State. And I think they're going to meet Texas there. I think that would be the best for college football. And like I said, I had this prediction for a little while. So I'm sitting on this prediction for like 2 months. And actually, my brother-in-law can actually vouch for this. So we both have money on Penn State. We put a bet on Penn State like a month ago. We took the odds. I'm like, okay, if you put a bet on somebody like early enough, I know it's going to be a decent payout. And I am not a Penn State fan. Like, let me just be clear about that. I'm not a Penn State fan. But I see the opportunity. They're looking pretty nice. So I went ahead and put a couple dollars on them. Me and my brother-in-law, we both put a couple dollars on them. And we'll see if it pays out. If it pays out, I'll be looking like a genius. I'll be a couple dollars richer. I'll have a little bit of bragging rights. I'll say I told you so. So, you know, feel free to clip this video because I definitely called it a couple weeks ago. Like I said, I think they're going to meet Texas there. So I gave you, I prefaced, you know, the 25 list by saying my prediction, and it's just so ironic that I think I know what I'm talking about. Texas and Penn State are both ranked number 1 and 2, so they start the list at number 1 and 2. Now, I do want to start from 25 and then go to 1, so that's a spoiler. I just gave it to you. Texas and Penn State coming in at number 1 and 2. So let's start from 25 and work our way down. So we have Boise State at 25. At 24 is Tennessee, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Ole Miss. All right, and then that looks like Indiana. Okay, early thoughts on that. Tennessee is in the top 25. Boise State's in the top 25. Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss will have a pretty nice year. Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin is like, he kind of embarrassed himself this past postseason. He's making all that noise about the SEC. First of all, it's your fault you didn't make it into the playoffs. And secondly, the SEC did not back you up at all because they looked awful in the bowl games and in the playoffs as well. That's a whole nother story. Indiana, good for Indiana. They were in the playoffs, so it's nice to see them be in the top 20. We have Texas A&M. I will just say the SEC is jumping out right now. So, Lane Kiffin, I know we're cracking on you, but the SEC really is good. We're not taking anything away. They're really jumping out. So we got Texas A&M at 19, Oklahoma at 18, Kansas State at 17, SMU, Florida, Michigan, South Carolina. South Carolina, they have a Heisman favorite at quarterback. And then we have Illinois. Illinois is going to be good this year. Illinois is ranked number 12. Big game this year, Ohio State versus Illinois. We have Arizona State at number 11. We have Miami at number 10. Carson Beck just transferred over to Miami, so I'm really excited to see how Miami plays this year. Really excited to see Miami play Clemson. The ACC is going to be busting this year. Like, the ACC is going to be lit. Like, I'm really excited to see how the ACC is going to play out. They got some pretty good competition. So now we're coming into the top 10. I know I just gave you Miami. They're number 10. At number 9, we got LSU. LSU, they got another Heisman candidate, Garrett Nussmeier. We know they got Brian Kelly as head coach. Let's see what you can do. I don't think Brian Kelly has been to the college football playoffs yet, so let's see what you got. Alabama at number 8. Alabama, we're looking for a bounce back season for you. Some people may say that this is too low. Some people might say that this is too high. I think it's just about right. Let's see what Alabama can do. They're definitely a top 10 program. Like, let's not get carried away here. They are a top 10 program. However, they really underperformed, and their quarterback, Jalen Milroe, went to the NFL. So it's like a question mark at the quarterback position. I really don't know what to expect. They still have their star wide receiver. So we'll see what Alabama does. At number 7, we got the reigning Big Ten champion Oregon Ducks. They went undefeated in the regular season until they ran into the Buckeyes in the playoffs. So, be interested to see how they play this year. I think they have a big game against Penn State this year, and they're right in the mix within the Big Ten. So Oregon, give them a lot of credit. They came over from where they come over from the Pac-12, and they're right into it. It's really interesting. Side note, it is really interesting how these schools are transferring and they're getting right into the mix. Like Texas, for example. It's already a spoiler, so I'll go ahead and say it. This is the first time that Texas has been ranked number 1 preseason in their school's history, and this is their second year in the SEC. Not the same with Oklahoma, but with Oklahoma, they're newly in the SEC, and it's like they're right in the mix. They're better than some teams that have been in the SEC. So that was a sidebar. Getting back to it, we got Notre Dame at number 6. National champion runner-up, Notre Dame. They put together a really strong season. Notre Dame, they have a really great coach, number 1, and they're really polished as a football team. Like, they just know how to play football, point blank. So they play fundamentally sound football. They have great coaches, and of course they have great athletes as well. You can't even really give the argument about them being independent, not really playing anybody, because, they beat Georgia and they also beat Penn State. So Notre Dame, give them a lot of credit. I don't really see them having the same season as they did, but they are here ranked at number 6. All right, so this is where it gets interesting now. We're at the top 5. So for the top 5, we got Georgia. We got Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State, and Texas. Now, why is this interesting? This is interesting because of these 5 teams that I just mentioned, 4 of these teams should be in the Final Four. At least, well, obviously, there can only be 4. So let me just backtrack a little bit. At least 2 of these teams in the top 5, I guarantee you will be in the Final Four this year. If not, be a national champion. Now, before we get too ahead of ourselves, the AP poll, it changes a lot throughout the season, right? You know, after wins, after losses. Now, it does remain somewhat consistent and somewhat constant throughout the year. Like, the top 10 is going to change, but really the only thing that's probably going to change is the order. There's going to be some teams that are between 10 and 20 that might end up being in the top 10, maybe possibly be in the top 5. If I were to give an argument for that, one of those teams could be, could that possibly be a team like Michigan? Could that possibly be a team like Oklahoma or South Carolina? So that's possible, but for the most part, I think number 1s through 10, I think that's going to stay relatively, the same throughout the season. Ohio State, did they get snubbed? They sent 13 players to the NFL. It would have been nice. I think reigning national champions, they should be coming in at number 1. They're the national champions. But, of course, recruitment goes into it. There's a lot of things. So, I think it's fair. I think it's worth noting that Clemson is ranked at number 4. So, salute. Let's get round of applause. Round of applause to Dabo Swinney. Salute, Dabo Swinney. A lot of people, I feel like, kind of forgot, and I feel like this season Dabo's going to remind a lot of people, why he's a 2-time national champion head coach. And then the Georgia Bulldogs. They're coming off of such a high. They were just in national championship game after national championship game. It was almost like they were the new Alabama. But we see right there how hard that is, how hard it was for Nick Saban to sustain that success over basically almost 2 decades. It's really hard. So Georgia is not that they're falling off. They were in the Final Four this past season, but they haven't been to the championship game. The Big Ten is now 2 years in a row that they've won the national championship. So, can the Big Ten win a 3rd national championship? Well, I picked Penn State, so I'm just going to have to say yes until the SEC goes ahead and grabs it. Texas, you're the favorite. You're the AP number 1 ranked team. So, Texas, let's see what you're going to do. We're expecting Archie Manning. We're expecting you. You should win the Heisman. We're expecting you to have a great season. So, it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited, as you can tell. The preseason opener is just around the corner. The season starts very soon. I'm really excited for the Ohio State-Texas game. Texas is traveling to Ohio State. They're playing noonday. So, waking up for football on a Saturday, I can't wait to just be home all day. There's no greater joy than waking up, watching college game day from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And in between, you're not, really watching the whole show, but you're watching, the segments that are worth seeing. And then in between, you're eating breakfast. I'll go to the bodega, get a bacon, egg, and cheese, come back with my orange juice, feet kicked up, watching the 12 o'clock game. Then watching the 3 o'clock game. Then watching the 7:30 game. Then watching the 10 o'clock game for the West Coast. And it's lit. I'm so excited for college football. And I want y'all to let me know, who do you think is going to win on week 1? Who are some of your week 1 winners? Who do you like coming out of the AP top 25? And also, which poll do you favor? Do you favor the coaches poll more or the AP poll? So I'm really interested to see how people, how people look at those rankings. But yeah, so I'm really excited about the college football season. You know, get in the comments section. Let me know what you think about this season coming up, the storylines, and what you want me to talk about next.